digital marketing, and my thought leadership has been featured in Forbes, Inc., Amex, as well as Mashable. This is my favorite slide of the presentation. I'm also the proud father of these kids. I've got Violet on the left. She is now over 4 years old. Her birthday was January 2nd. And that's my chubby son, Emmett, in the middle. He's over a year and a half. This picture was taken on his first year birthday, which we naturally brought him to a beer garden in the Upper West Side of New York City where we live. And that's my beautiful wife, Erin, on the right. All right, so top 10 trends. We'll go through each one. First trend should definitely not be news to anyone on the line. Your customers are going mobile. So you should definitely be aware of this. More and more of customers are turning to their mobile phones rather than going on their desktop computer. Now, when I got started, I should have mentioned this earlier, I got started around 2006. I think it was March 2006. Back then, I did not have this smartphone that I have now. Really, when you were doing digital advertising and SEO back in 2006, you focused exclusively on desktop computers and how everything worked with desktop. And those days are long gone. And the reality is, if your website is not mobile friendly, you're definitely losing sales. No matter what industry you're in, a segment of your prospective customers are going to your website on their mobile device. And obviously, if it doesn't load properly, doesn't look good, and doesn't function properly, which is the case for some businesses, you're going to lose that prospective customer. So if you haven't done this already, you want to make your website mobile responsive. If you're not familiar with what that means, it just means that your website needs to respond to the device that's accessing it. So if I go to your website on a desktop computer, 100% of the time it's going to load properly. Everyone has a website that loads properly for desktop computers, but then if I go to it on a tablet or a mobile device, which obviously has a much smaller screen, does that actually look professional and function properly? It needs to respond based on the device that's going to the site. And then you want to take that a step further, and when you start launching campaigns, let's say a Google AdWords ad campaign, you want to design those campaigns for the different types of devices. So it's not enough to set up a landing page and just check it out in your desktop computer. You also have to check it out in tablets and mobile devices and make sure, again, that they look good and function properly. Then you can take that a step further and actually have dedicated sales paths per device. And what I mean by that is, again, when I got started, you would just design a sales path for desktop computers. It was very straightforward. When people are at their desktops, the calls to action are generally to have some kind of form on that site, and then that's a very user-friendly call to action. People know how to use forms. But now when you're designing sales paths for mobile, it's actually, people are reading this literally on a phone, and if you want phone calls, you can have the call to action to actually click a button to place a phone call. So it might make more sense for your business to have a mobile landing page be optimized with a call to action for phone calls, but then have a desktop page that still has a phone number but is more optimized and geared towards web form submissions. So obviously it depends on what you're trying to do with your business and what your sales process looks like, but just keep that in mind that you want to really look at each device individually and create your campaigns per device. And I already mentioned this, different call to action per device. And then ultimately you need to be tracking your campaigns across different devices. I'll talk more about this later, people are now jumping from device to device and that present some issues when we get into the topic of tracking. And that'll be later. Excuse me. Trend number 2 is that Google is going mobile. So not just your customers, but Google is actually jumping ship on desktops and really focusing more and more on mobile. So what does that mean? First and foremost, it means that Google has announced they are shifting to what they're calling the mobile first index. So again, back in the days when I got started, actually everything up till now has been really a desktop first index. That means Google, their spiders or their bots will go to the desktop version of your site, and they look at that as the primary website, and that's really how we've all thought of websites. But that has shifted now, and Google's kind of flipping this and saying, no, we shouldn't look at the desktop first, we should look at the mobile site first, because that's really the primary website for a lot of businesses. And the reason for that is because more people actually go to Google on mobile devices than desktop computers. So it makes sense from Google's perspective. They're now going to look at your mobile site and look at that website and analyze it to determine how well you should rank in the search engines, or in Google's search engine. And this was a shift, I think a year or two ago, that Google started to use mobile-friendly signals. So this mobile-first index has not rolled out yet. That should be coming in the next month or two. They announced it and said it would be in Q1, but things can get delayed. So it should be in the next few months. But for a while now, Google has been using what they call mobile-friendly signals. So even if we just look at how well your website can rank when people are searching mobile on their mobile phones, you're at a severe disadvantage if you don't have what's called a mobile-friendly site or a mobile responsive site. And what that means is you want to focus on usability on the mobile version of your website. You want to make sure that the page layout it looks proper on the small screen of a mobile device, so it renders properly. And speed is a factor on mobile. So people, when they're on their mobile devices, obviously are even more impatient than they are when they're on their desktop computers. They really want to get to that site and have that load very quickly on their mobile device. So you need to be paying close attention to how your website functions, so the usability, whether or not it's rendering properly with the page layout, and the page load speed. If you're having issues in some of those areas, then you're going to have a lower, basically mobile-friendly score, and that's going to hurt your rankings when people are searching on mobile devices. So what do you need to do? I recommend everyone go and test your site. Google has a free tool at this long URL here. You'll get the copy of the slide, so don't worry about writing all of this down. You could even just Google mobile-friendly Google tool, and that should be the first result. That tool will show you if your website is, quote, mobile-friendly, and if it's not, it will show you how to fix that. And it will also, you might have a mobile-friendly page, but there might be ways to improve it, and that tool will also show you how to improve it. So it's a great tool to use, and then once you get the results, you're going to want to work with your web developer to get that all cleaned up. I also recommend you at least tell your developer about AMP, or what's called accelerated mobile pages. You've probably seen these already, especially everyone who's been following the news about the election and post-election news. A lot of the news pages are using what's called AMP. They're using accelerated mobile pages. Here's the website if you want to get really geeky and take a look at the ampproject.org. You definitely don't need to research that, and that's why I'm saying just tell your developer about it. If you're not a developer, don't get too deep into this. It's really just a heads up that Google has made a big push to have publishers, mostly those big news outlets, create AMP pages. They're much faster loading pages, and that's why Google likes them. They believe that it's a better user experience for people searching in Google. My prediction, if that is true and it works for news sites, be on the lookout that AMP could graduate to more and more different types of pages, and it could become more of an issue in terms of ranking in Google. That's not the case now, but just kind of a heads up to at least know about AMP and just be on the lookout. Trend number 3 is that ads will be more personal. This is actually a trend that's been happening for a while. As an advertiser, we can just really laser target in on different segments of your prospective customers. You can use what's called retargeting. That's targeting people who have visited certain pages on your website. You can take email addresses of, let's say, a prospect list that you have, or even better, a customer list that you have, and you can import that into Google AdWords or Facebook ads, and those programs will match the email addresses to actual users online, and it's all anonymously matched, so you don't actually see the accounts, but kind of behind the scenes they match that up, and then you can launch an ad campaign just to literally only your prospective customers, if it's a prospect list, or only to past customers of, let's say, a particular product or a particular service. So when you start thinking about that, you can obviously get more and more creative about how you're advertising online, how you're bringing customers back for repeat purchases, how maybe if you have a longer sales cycle, you can start inputting qualified prospects, or whatever you call them in your sales cycle. You know, that qualified list, you could upload that and start having some tailored advertising campaigns that continue to push that prospect through your sales pipeline. Then you can take this a step further and have Google AdWords or Facebook create a lookalike audience or a similar audience. What that means is, again, let's say you upload a list of your customers. Google or Facebook will then find similar users that are similar to your customers. So naturally, that can be a good tactic to expand and start to bring in fresh leads, fresh sales that have behaved similarly to your customers online. And ultimately, as you all know, better targeting is going to lead to higher return on investment for any of your ad campaigns. That's really what the key is, or kind of the critical component to advertising. Comes down to how well you're targeting. So if you haven't already, I recommend you install retargeting pixels to your website, and you can get started with a Google AdWords account and a Facebook account, Facebook ads, and you don't have to spend any money because it's totally free to create those accounts and then get the code to add to your site, and then you'll start building up what are called audiences, and those are your retargeting audiences. So you can retarget everyone that made it to a particular product or service description page. You could retarget everyone who contacted you, filled out a a form to get a demo, schedule an appointment, whatever it is. You can start building up those lists. You don't have to advertise to them. It's totally free. But at least if you get that set up now, you'll be in a position later on in 2017 to get creative and launch a campaign to those different types of audiences. And I already mentioned this. You want to test with what I call your hot prospects. And those are people who almost purchased. You could also start with just your customers. If you sell something that people buy on a recurring basis, and you want to generate repeat purchases, that would also be kind of low-hanging fruit from a ad targeting perspective. You could upload your customer list and start showing ads to those folks at the appropriate time when they should be purchasing again. Or you can target, or you can target your what I'm calling hot prospects, and those are folks who have almost purchased. So let's say if you have a e-commerce business, they've added something to their cart but never made it to the final page. That's a pretty good prospect. They were clearly interested. So you could show ads to bring those guys back to actually complete that order. If you have a more traditional sales cycle or an offline sales cycle, you could use your CRM to export everyone that made it to a certain point in your sales cycle. Let's say you have a stage called qualified prospect. You could export all of those guys, upload them to AdWords and Facebook, and now you're showing ads to all of those qualified prospects to, again, assist with that sales cycle. All right, trend number 4, ads will be more social. So what's happening here is that all of these the big social media sites have options for advertising. So Facebook has Facebook ads, there's Twitter ads, Pinterest, Instagram. And it's not just that they have advertising options, they have these native ad options. So the ads look just like organic posts. And that's actually really important. I know personally it's hard for me, and I'm in this industry, it's hard for me to know if a post was just an organic, natural post or if it was actually paid for. Now they do say it's a promoted post, and you can clearly see that. But there have been times when I'm just scrolling through my Facebook feed, something catches my eye, and it does take me a little bit, an extra second or two to realize, oh, this was actually an ad. So with that in mind, I'm in this industry. A lot of folks are scrolling through their news feed, click on those ads, and actually don't realize those were advertisements because they look like natural posts. And the targeting options here are improving pretty quickly. Facebook in particular, when I started using that tool, it was extremely cumbersome. Now it's just a little bit cumbersome. It's still not great, but it has vastly improved, and you can target on a lot of different factors, like obviously demographics. You can get into gender, male versus female, different age ranges, geographic targeting, if you want to only hit a certain radius around your store or office. You can get into different interests, and that's what's called behavioral targeting. So if you're, let's say, on Facebook and you click on a lot of things related to football, so you got the Super Bowl coming up, and you've already liked the Patriots fan page, and you naturally click and talk about a lot of stuff related to football, Facebook, it's very easy for them to say that you're interested in sports, and more specifically, you're interested in football. So then someone who wants to target people who like football can then go in and use that as an interest target. You can also do retargeting on Facebook. And again, retargeting means someone has been to your website and then left, and now they're surfing around on Facebook. You can show an ad to bring them back to your site. And then you can use what's called a CRM import. That's just grabbing a list of contacts in your CRM and importing that into Facebook. And then we already talked about lookalikes before. You can, once you have an audience or a custom audience in Facebook, you can tell Facebook to create a lookalike audience based on that. And that just means Facebook's going to find other people who match the demographics and interests and behavior of the folks in that current audience. So what do you need to do? The first step is just to figure out which social media sites are even appropriate for you, because not all of them are appropriate for every business. However, the reality is nearly everyone is using Facebook. The stats are pretty staggering in terms of how many people you can reach on Facebook and the demographics. I don't have a slide on this. I have it in another training that I do. And the reality is the stats are across the board from young men and women all the way up to 65 plus men and women across the world as far as geography. And then in terms of interests, it's across the board. It's pretty rare where you are not going to find your prospects using Facebook. And I get this question all the time: does it actually work for B2B? And the reality is, with B2B, you're still trying to target people. So of course it still works for B2B as well as B2C. I'm not saying Facebook works for every business. You do need to take a look at the targeting. Can you actually reach those folks? And also, is it appropriate to be targeting them on a site like Facebook? Now, if you're not sure, again, you can kind of take a baby step here, dip your toe in the water, and start by using retargeting. So you can just test again your hot prospects. You can do that with a retargeting pixel on your site, and then build up that audience over time. And then once you have a sizable audience, you can launch an ad campaign on Facebook with the demographic targeting and geographic targeting, interest targeting that you want, also knowing that they have already been to your site. So that's kind of layering on all the different targeting to give you a better shot at success. And then I already talked about uploading lists in your CRM or uploading customer lists, and you can do that as well. All right, trend number 5 is more video ads. Video is just getting bigger and bigger. It's just like mobile. This is not a new trend, but it's just kind of snowballing. And here's what's happening. YouTube has over 1 billion users that watch hundreds of millions of hours per day, which is staggering. Facebook touts they have 8 billion video views per day. Now, you might think, okay, well, Facebook's bigger than YouTube, but the reality is they're tracking those numbers differently. So that comes with a caveat here. YouTube only tracks a view after 30 seconds, and you have to click on a video to watch a YouTube video. Facebook counts a video, I forget exactly what it is, but I think it's only 5 seconds, and Facebook auto-plays videos. So it's kind of cheating as far as comparing the number of views. Facebook clearly is cheating by auto-playing videos. People aren't taking action to actually click on those every single time, and they have a lower threshold for what they're calling a video view. But regardless, as long as you understand the differences, those are pretty big numbers. And I do want to make a point that creating a video doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. You certainly can do that, and I'm not recommending against going and getting a professional video done, but if you don't have the budget and you want to give this a shot, what I've done is actually gone out to sites like freelancer.com, and I've gotten videos done for as little as $350. The way you do that is you would have to come up with the video script and record yourself talking through that script, and then you hire someone on a site like Freelancer to create an animated video. So these are people that are basically experts in the software to create animated videos, and if you just give them an audio file, it's pretty straightforward for them, pretty quick to take that audio file and layer that on top of animation. And obviously you need to give them direction as far as what you're trying to do. But hopefully that will get some businesses over that hurdle, because getting a professional photo shoot for video can be very pricey. All right, so what do you need to do to actually create some kind of video ad? You obviously need to create a video. I recommend at the beginning you emphasize the problem. So you're going to start right from the beginning of the video, hitting the problem that you solve. Then naturally you're going to transition into explaining how your product or service solves that particular problem. Excuse me. And then you want to give a clear call to action, and that might be as simple as going to a page on your website, or calling a phone number, or if you just want to drive foot traffic, going to the actual store. And again, if you want to test this with the lowest risk, as long as you are getting traffic to your site, you can use retargeting. So you're only showing these video ads to people who have already expressed interest in your product or service. All right, trend number 6 is about social commerce. You've probably heard about this. There's been a lot of buzz about these buy buttons in social media sites. So sites like Pinterest and Facebook introduced these buy buttons. I think it was a year ago, or maybe it was 2 years at this point. So this is not brand new, but it's relatively new. You can see an example there on the screen where it's got a buy button. Now the difference between this and a traditional ad that just has a buy button is that customers can actually buy without leaving the social media site. And in theory, this sounds really awesome for e-commerce businesses. However, in reality, I don't recommend you do anything yet. This is still relatively new. And the latest news from Twitter is they are going to actually remove their version of the buy button. They started testing that, and it basically failed. So any advertising, this was my recommendation last year for anyone looking to get into testing that particular buy button. I said don't invest there yet. It's definitely too early, and I still am saying the same thing on even for Facebook and Pinterest. I think it's a little bit too early. There's a lot of skepticism from consumers. Just not people are not really picking it up. All right, trend number 7 is don't believe the hype that email is dead. So there's a lot of rumors, a lot of just a lot of noise out there about how email marketing doesn't work or it won't work for your particular business. And the reality is it's one of the best tools, if not the best tool, for building strong one-to-one relationships with your prospects and your customers. There's been studies out there, this one's from ExactTarget, that customers actually prefer email versus all other media. And by that, the study was looking at how people prefer to be contacted or reached out to by a business, and that included social media, ads, and all the other channels, and customers chose email as the best or their preferred method. And here's a recent stat from Costora, just looking at November 2016. This happened in 2015 as well, and it has probably happened the past several years before that. Email drove more sales than any other channel. Again, this was just looking at stats at November 2016. So kind of right in that holiday season, so when a lot of sales are happening, email was the biggest driver. So that's looking at comparing online advertising, it's comparing SEO, it's comparing social media, and head and shoulders above all of those is actually email marketing. So what do you need to do? If you're not already using email marketing, you'll need to start by brainstorming topics that your customers would actually want to read about. So what would your customers actually care to receive via email? And here's some ideas that just to kind of get the wheels in motion. You can start listing out frequently asked questions, and then you can obviously answer those via email. Should ask questions or FAQs. That's what you know that a prospective customer should be asking, but they might not be asking it. Any type of how-to information, which is basically getting into educational marketing. This is very true in a lot of industries. The more you can educate your prospective customer, the easier the sale becomes, and then the better that relationship is with that customer. Leads to higher retention, more repeat sales. You could also write about mistakes to avoid in your industry, even with mistakes to avoid when buying your product or service. Next, you obviously need a way to send these emails and to manage all of your email addresses. That's why I would recommend an email service provider. You've probably heard of all of these names. There's Aweber, Constant Contact, MailChimp, Infusionsoft. Don't get too hung up on which software to use. A lot of them, have their pros and cons. The most important thing is to actually pick one, get that set up, and start using it. You can always, upgrade later. And then you need to commit to a schedule. So I see this time and time again. I talk to a lot of prospective clients that say they're doing email marketing, but the reality is all they did was set it up and maybe sent a couple emails, and then it's just kind of on the back burner. And when they get to it, they send an email. But if you're not staying consistent, then it's not going to have the impact that it could have on your business. So you want to commit to a schedule. That might be monthly. So every business could be sending a monthly email to their prospects and maybe a different one to their customers. Now, when you're creating that schedule, it's important to have a combination of helpful emails versus more promotional emails. And the analogy that I use is a bank account. So when you are going to the bank, you can either make a deposit to put money in your account, or you're going to make a withdrawal and take money out of that account. And with email marketing, you can do the same thing. You can send a promotion, which is a withdrawal. So you're promoting a product or service, asking your subscribers to take action and and basically give you money. That's a withdrawal. And a deposit is when you're providing value to your subscribers. So that might be, again, some kind of helpful information like a how-to, mistakes to avoid, that kind of content. That's really good for nurturing your prospects and customers. It builds rapport, and now they know, like, and trust you a little bit more. So when you start layering on promotions, they're more likely to take action on that promotion. Trend number 8 is related to email marketing, and that's that the money is still in the list. It's really emphasizing the importance of having a prospect and customer list. And the reality here is that email marketing is basically the only marketing channel that you own and fully control. So with the other options out there, you've got SEO, advertising, social media. With SEO, you're definitely not in control. Google AdWords is in full control. I mean, sorry, Google and Bing are in full control of their algorithms and which business is going to rank number 1. And already I mentioned Google's making a big shift to the mobile first index. So clearly they're in control. When they want to make changes, they make changes. And that's going to affect your rankings. And with advertising, you're basically renting the space. So if you stop paying for those ads, you will obviously lose the traffic and sales. So you're not in total control there. But with email marketing, you can control the schedule as far as when you're sending those messages and exactly what's going to be in those messages. So the email list that you start growing over time is a huge asset, and you can keep growing that asset, and as long as you're nurturing it, it will keep growing and keep generating more leads and more sales. With that, you can use your email list to then improve other marketing channels. I already mentioned this. You can take your email list of prospects or customers, upload those to Google AdWords and Facebook, and that will help laser target those ad campaigns. And to be successful with email, you do need to be segmenting. I've already been mentioning this throughout the presentation, prospects versus customers. That means in your email program, you need to have a list of prospects and you need to have a separate list of customers so that you can email those segments different messages. And then you can always take it a step further and get into segmenting by demographics, by location, and by different interests. So what do you need to do to start building an email database? I recommend you add what's called a freemium on your website. And that can be a free report. I'm sure you've seen those on other websites if you don't already have one. It could be as simple as having some kind of coupon that you offer in exchange for an email address. And that's just a great way on an ongoing basis to be continually building up your email list. It's just a reality of online marketing is that about 98% of all your visitors are going to leave and likely never return. So with that in mind, that's why you want to have some kind of freemium on your site, because then a percentage of those people that were going to leave and never return, they will download your free report or request your coupon. They're still going to leave likely, but now you've got their email address and you can follow up with them and bring them back to make a purchase. Now when they request the report or the coupon, you're going to put those emails into your email service provider. And then I already mentioned this, you're going to follow up with some kind of an email newsletter and targeted email promotions. All right, trend number 9 is that SEO is actually not just SEO anymore. It's not just about putting keywords on your pages, and it's not just about links from other websites. So those are important. I'm not saying they're not important, but SEO has evolved, and it's now also important to be creating a better user experience. And that means providing the best content for the person searching in Google. That's what Google wants. And I mentioned this earlier, you need to present that in the best layout for the device that's accessing your website. And that's having a responsive website. So what do you need to do? From an SEO perspective, you want to first build a strong foundation. You want to have an easy-to-use, responsive website. You want to have pages for all of your core buying intent keywords. Buying intent keyword, there's really 2 types of keywords, buying intent versus research intent. And if someone is doing research and not really looking to buy, you would naturally have a more informational page on your site to try to rank that in Google. But if someone is searching, looking to make a purchase, that's when you send those people to a page where they can learn more about your product or service and ultimately make that purchase. So you obviously want to start by having your core buying intent keywords, having pages for all of those keywords, and having those pages optimized so that they can rank. And I also recommend that everyone creates either a blog or a resource center or both, and that's so that you can optimize for those research type keywords. So those are some of the how-to type keywords that you might find people are searching for. You can have articles on your site, either on your blog or in some kind of resource section of your website, and those pages are going to be optimized for those research intent keywords. And next, you need to promote that content because it is important to ultimately get links from other websites to your website. So you're going to promote that content to other relevant websites, and you can also post that on social media. All right, the 10th and final trend here is that tracking is even more important, and it's just going to become it's a huge issue. This is one of those hot topics, and it's because it's becoming harder and harder to track as people start using more devices. So the example here would be someone searching on their mobile phone. Let's say they're in line at a grocery store. They do a quick search because they have a minute. Then they go home. They're on their couch with their tablet. They do a little bit more research. And then they go to the office and ultimately purchase on the desktop. And they make that purchase based on the research they did on the mobile and tablet. So that's hard to then figure out what ultimately led to that purchase, because when someone does research and they know what they want to buy, they might go to their desktop and literally just go straight to that website and make a purchase. It's going to look like direct traffic, or maybe someone just searching on your brand name. And the reality here is that competition is only getting stronger and more sophisticated. And the key to success with online marketing is to have a way to be tracking your return on investment for each of your marketing channels. So I recommend everyone set up and learn how to use Google Analytics. That's a great tool to measure all of your marketing channels. You'll be able to see the traffic that you're getting from a marketing channel like SEO, search ads, social media. Then you also, if you receive phone calls, you definitely need some kind of phone call tracking so that you know, okay, that's how much traffic you got from SEO and your Google ads and Facebook. But how many phone calls did you get from those different sources? You want to be tracking that as well. And you also want to be aware of just some of the natural limitations of cross-device tracking. So when people are bouncing around from device to device, that does present problems. So there are some limitations there. Google AdWords has been doing a lot of improvements with cross-device tracking because that is it's become a big issue, so they need to be focused on that, and their engineers are working on just improving the tracking there. But other tools don't naturally have a way to track across devices, so you need to sometimes get a little bit creative in how you're tracking. And just one idea I will throw out there is just having a way to start storing the source of your leads and having a way to store that in your CRM system so that you can ultimately figure out, how did that customer originally find you. All right, before we get to Q&A, I want to give the attendees their special offer, and it is what I'm calling a search marketing bundle, and it's 3 of our step-by-step trainings. These are about 90-minute video training courses. The first one here is the complete SEO tune-up, and you can go to our site. It's sold for $97 on the training section. Then the next training is how to set up a profitable Google AdWords campaign. And I want to make sure everyone knows how to track the online campaigns. So I'm also including the step-by-step Google Analytics setup and reporting. So that's how to get Google Analytics set up properly so that you're tracking all of your channels, and then how to actually report on your key metrics. So you can see those are all sold for $97. So the total value there is $291. If you wanted to buy those separately, you'll actually get everything for only $97. And you can get that bundle by going to mainstreetroi.com/SEM bundle. And that will bring us to the Q&A, and I've got the URL at the top.
Yeah, let me just jump right in here to the question. So first question was asked, it kind of goes reference back to Google Analytics. Question is, are there any other analytics tracking tools that you might recommend to supplement Google Analytics?
So it does depend on what you're trying to track. So with Google Analytics, that will allow you to track the traffic from your different marketing channels. You can track your web form submissions. So when people submit, let's say, a contact form or request a demo, you can track that, and it also tracks your e-commerce sales. What it doesn't show you is phone calls. Excuse me. So phone calls from different sources, and to track that, you'll need to have what's called dynamic number insertion. And Brett, you might want to touch on that.
Yeah.
Once you get into call tracking, call analytics, you do need another tool outside of Google Analytics.
Yeah, so for call tracking specifically, and this goes back to Phil's point in the problem with attributing across devices and attributing back, calls back to the right source, and that's where you'd use a dynamic number insertion where you'd dynamically change the phone number and then actually cookie that session. So when they come back, it doesn't matter how they come back, whether it's direct or another thing, that the same phone number will be shown up so that you can attribute it to the initial visit versus the last visit. So yeah, that like someone like Conversa could provide that tool to do that basic call tracking part of it. Next question we had here was do you have to have an email address to laser target ads?
So the short answer is no. You can still laser target. I mean, it depends on what we're calling laser targeting, but within Google AdWords and Facebook, there's a lot of targeting options as far as demographics, male versus female, age ranges, geography, and even behavioral targeting. You know, if people are interested in XYZ, you can target just those people. So if you're considering that laser targeting, which it is in certain cases, you can do that without email addresses. Then I was kind of taking it to the next level where you can do all that and then layer on top of it, well, I only want to target people that are in my CRM that I have given a proposal to. And you can go to that stage in your CRM, export all those emails, upload those into Google AdWords, and now you're just layering on another targeting option to, I guess, laser target even further.
Got it. Okay. All right. The next question we had is, how do you collect those that add to basket? This is Google Analytics is anonymous. I think that's referring to your retargeting slide at the first.
Okay, so there's two ways to do that. One is just based on like an event or a page that loads on the site. And by that I mean if they click add to cart, you can then trigger some code on your site to put those people into an anonymous audience, and then you can retarget those folks. So that's option one. Or maybe they click add to cart and go to the checkout page. You could retarget everyone that makes it to that checkout page. So again, that's option one, retargeting based on an action on the site. Option two, and I do recommend this as well for e-commerce businesses, is having a multi-step checkout where, let's say they add to cart, they go to the checkout, and then they just enter their name and their email address as step one. So it's very simple. Okay, step one to make a purchase, name, email, and then step two is when you get into all the longer form where it's going to ask for address and credit card information, all that good stuff. So that, by having a multi-step process there, you'll collect that email address from that step one, and not everyone is going to fully check out. So you'll have a segment in your database of email addresses that completed step one but did not purchase. You could upload those as a custom audience in AdWords or Facebook, retarget that way, and you can also obviously email market to those folks.
Perfect. All right, last question here, or we have a couple more, but the question is, do you have an opinion on pop-up chat as a way to convert website visitors to more engagement?
Yes, in my experience, it tends to improve conversion rates. So just chat in general, I will say I highly recommend most businesses should be testing chat as long as you have someone who can man that chat and interact with the people, that are, the prospects that are talking. But then you said pop-up chat, which leads me to believe you're talking about what's called like a proactive chat. If you've been on a site, let's say after like 5 seconds, it'll pop up and start talking to you. That's something you need to test. I've seen cases where that certainly does help engagement. For example, if they're on a checkout page and they're on it for a really long time, they might be struggling. So it could be a pop-up that's just something super helpful. Or, I see you've been on the page. Do you need any help with this? I can actually call you and walk you through it, or call me we can do the order over the phone. Long story short, you definitely just need to test something like that. And when I say test, ideally you can split test it. So if you are testing that on a page, you would copy that page. So you now have two versions of that page. One has the chat, one doesn't, and you want to split the traffic 50-50 to both of those pages and then measure the result at the end.
Very good. All right. I'm getting a lot of questions about can we get copies of the slides and a recording. So we are recording the webinar, and we will have that downloaded and posted on Conversa, so you can have that, and we can also email it out to you if you want it. As far as getting the slides, I'll kind of refer to Phil on that. Is there a deposit somewhere where you kind of will give access to the slides, or just the recording going to be the best?
Yeah, we will typically follow up via email in the next like 24 hours and include a link to the slides, so you've got that.
Okay. All right. And then there was one last question here, and then we'll let everyone go. It says, I've heard that DNI or multiple numbers can negatively impact SEO. Is this why Google is defaulting numbers to business listings? I can tackle some of that, or Phil, if you want to address that also, you can do that.
Yeah, the short answer is DNI does not affect SEO. From a technical standpoint, DNI is using JavaScript code. So the hard-coded number that the Google bot or spider will read is going to be your default phone number, and that default phone number should match all of your business listings because you want to have that consistent for SEO. But then the JavaScript code is what's actually changing the phone number just for the person that's reading the page. So from the Googlebot perspective, they're going to the page, they see your default phone number, it's all good, it all looks good, and then the user will see a different phone number just because of the way JavaScript works.
Yeah, and I would concur with all of that. And I think that is all the questions. I think all these other ones were just about the slides. So, and we're at our time limit here also. So I appreciate everyone that attended. Be looking for an email with the slides, and also if you want to get the recording of the webinar, Conversa Week will follow up with you and get that. And you can also just go to our website, and that'll be uploaded there also. If you want to get in contact with either of us, you can just by reaching out, responding to those emails. And please, we'll look forward to seeing you next time, and I really appreciate your time and your presentation, Phil. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to the next one.
All right. See you later, guys.
Take care.